What has happened? It is a Nintendo Powercast bonus episode. I have a very special guest, Servant. Sometimes Servant 117, sometimes Aaron, sometimes Digital. What's up, baby? How are you?
Howdy, howdy. How are you? I am doing great. It is everybody's favorite Discord conversation starter.
I love
Yes,
it. I
I'm
love it.
I'm claiming that title as everybody's favorite Discord conversation starter. T-shirt and taxes pending. That's my new name.
Hey, that's great. That's great. Well, speaking of the Discord, guys, if you head on over to n64josh.com/Discord, you can jump in to the conversation there. Today's topics were tattoos. If you're watching, you're seeing my Mario Kart tattoo. Servant's got some tattoos there as well. Like, yeah, it's a fun time over there today. I see we can, actually in the Discord you can see your full sleeve right now. I have it open. I'm looking right now. So n64josh.com/Discord. If you guys are just listening to the audio, there's a sweet Street Fighter blanket behind you. I have to point. I just got a Street Fighter 2 T-shirt the other day, which I was very excited about. So
Love Street Fighter.
same. We should throw down sometime.
Oh, you would crush me. I am a great dad, but a mediocre gamer.
See, I'm a mediocre dad, but a great gamer, so it works out.
So we're perfect together.
Yeah, the yin and the yang. Excellent. Perfect. Lastly, guys, I want to let everybody know about immortalprime.com. That is the marketing and talent agency that I just started with my boy DJ. And if you are needing SEO or a new website, head on over to immortalprime.com and reach out. We would love to help you grow and scale your business. If you are a content creator that would like to get in touch with other businesses, reach out to us there. And if you're a business that would like to do some influencer marketing, we are also your one-stop shop. So head on over to immortalprime.com. Now, for this bonus episode, let's get to know Servant a little bit. All right, you got a little history with Nintendo and gaming in general. We've done a few episodes on the Xbox Now podcast, which you guys have probably heard. We've been a little bit behind on that one, but man, there's all kinds of Xbox news, especially the last week. Like the Xbox Factor podcast, I think has gone to 5 days a week now. There's so much going on in Xbox land. So, but let's one of the things I want to start doing is kind of some of these like more community focused shows where we get to know people in the community, in the Discord. And if you're thinking, hey, it would be kind of fun to be on one of these shows, hit me up, DM me on Discord or on Twitter, and we could try to get you on. So where does it start for you? What, NES, SNES, 64, GameCube, Genesis? How are we going to judge you or love you? That's the question.
So there's a duality to that answer. It starts with the Super Nintendo parallel with the NES. So I had an NES when I was a kid. I was born in 87. So I don't really remember that too much, but my parents got a Super Nintendo pretty soon, but they gave the NES to my grandpa. So when I was in Detroit visiting my grandpa, I'd be listening to Tigers baseball and playing the regular old school NES. But when I was home, I was playing Super Nintendo.
Okay.
And then I owned the 64, the GameCube, which the SNES and the GameCube, I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And then I completely skipped the Wii and the Wii U and all of the handhelds after the Game Boy Advance. I don't like motion gaming. I know I'm going to lose a lot of fans with my never owning a Wii conversation. And then the Switch. I bought the Switch in 2017 and haven't looked back.
Let's look back though. I want to talk about your favorite games on the NES. What did you play while you were listening to Tigers baseball?
So NES was basically only Mario. Those are the only games I remember my grandpa having were just all the Mario games. Never played a Zelda game. Never played anything else except for Mario.
Interesting. Okay. Did you, at such a young age, did you complete any of them? And which
no.
was your favorite?
No. I want to say the original was my favorite because that's the one that I vividly remember the most as a kid. You know, as an adult, as you play it, your retrospect, your nostalgia kick in. They kind of battle with your emotions along with your knowledge. I always say don't let nostalgia get in the way of the facts. But Super Mario Brothers, the first one, is it's a perfect game. It's an absolutely perfect game that has aged tremendously well compared to other games.
It's such a tough, like you're right on there. Like, I love the first Super Mario Brothers. I love it. There's so much nostalgia to it, right? What's interesting is I could be like, we'll go camping sometimes, or like to my parents' cabin, and my parents will be there, and I will put on Super Mario Brothers, and my mom will immediately stop whatever she's doing and just be like, "Oh man, this takes me back." Right? Like, this takes me back to when you guys were all little and she's cooking dinner, and where it takes me when I hear the opening notes to Super Mario Brothers World 1-1, it immediately takes me back to fall evenings, where this is kind of interesting, where my TV, so in my house we say upstairs, downstairs was 5 steps, because it was a rec room that used to be a garage long before I was even born. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, so that was the downstairs to me, which was always funny when I'd go to an actual 2-story house, because there's just a whole flight of stairs. But our downstairs was 5 stairs, and that was like our rec room. That's where we played, and then off the rec room were 2 bedrooms, and that's where my bedroom was at. So when I would wake up in the morning, like, because I had a 45-minute time limit, so I would get up as early as I could. And I know you were harassing me in Discord today, like, do you ever sleep in? I'm up at 5 a.m. every day. 5 a.m. I jump out of bed.
Pacific time, so that's crazy.
Yeah, and I head to the gym. So so I would have to like sneak past my parents' room, turn the TV on, hoping the volume wasn't too loud from what my dad was watching the night before. Right. And then I would sit in game. But it's those fall nights where my mom was probably cooking spaghetti. I felt like we had spaghetti a lot as a kid. The windows are all fogged from the boiling of the noodles, and I would just be rocking and rolling on Mario while she was cooking, and my siblings were running around and doing whatever. And there's just something, that's where it takes me every time. It's almost like a Ready Player One, like getting sucked into VR, like the Matrix. When I hear that music, I can just close my eyes and I can picture everything. The brown carpet, the sofa with like the crazy like farm scenes on the sofa. Like, this goes way back, right? Like the giant like wood, the TV just surrounded, and all they're so heavy. I remember when we God, this is gonna date me, but I remember when we got that TV and it was color, and I think we had black and white before that. Right? It's crazy, right? But it's just wild. And so there's definitely something about it. But Mario 3, did you play much Mario 3 at the grandparents'?
I did. So as I was older, I played more of 3, and as an adult, it's a great game.
Okay, wait. I'm going to ask the
question. I still think one is better.
I'm wearing the Mario World shirt. There's been an ongoing, long time debate if 3 or World is better. I'm going to ask every guest this question that has these 2 games in their past. So, what do you think? 3? And you just said 3 is not as good as 1.
Correct.
Which blows my mind, because the raccoon, the different suits that Mario could wear, all of that felt like the most like that changed the trajectory of Mario in my mind. I was just like, wow, there's so much they can do here, versus just Fire Flower and Starman. Well, Star Power, but it was Starman when it first came out.
So I'm going to answer this question in the most servant way possible.
Oh no.
To me, Super Mario Brothers 3 is Halo 1.
Okay.
It's a great foundation with great beginning on a hardware that could be improved upon.
Okay.
Super Mario World is Halo 2. It took everything that Halo did on that great foundation and built upon it. You can't really have one without the other.
I
But
got
I
you.
think I think World is a step up, and I mean that thing sold the Super Nintendo, which arguably is the greatest system of all time. So if it's the linchpin of the greatest game catalog, I mean there's no other system that has better original releases to that platform than the Super Nintendo. And if that's the greatest of the greatest, I think World beats 3 without even trying.
Without even trying. Whoa.
Without even trying.
That's what's your at so people can
It's at N64Josh on Twitter
yeah. There we go.
or at
Wow.
Servant in the Discord.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, World just I mean, World I played a lot of World. I had all 3 of my profiles like all 100%ed, like everything had moved to the fall color scheme because if you beat it that much, right? I think the question next is what other Super Nintendo games I mean, you've made some statements about the SNES that it is the potentially the greatest console of all time, right?
Okay.
So
So I could
back it up.
I have a really long answer for this.
I love it. Let's go.
But I have the privilege of having 2 nerds for parents.
Okay.
So like my parents' first date, they went to go see a Star Wars movie in theaters and then went to an arcade.
Love it.
So that's what they did on their first date. So they weren't the parents that said, "Oh, video games are bad. Don't play video games." I played a lot of Super Nintendo as a kid and a lot of JRPGs. Like I think Chrono Trigger is my favorite game on the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
But the rule was I had to read all the text out loud.
Interesting.
So I was allowed to play video games as long as I read the text out loud on the screen. So I didn't have a 45-minute time limit. I could play for 2 hours as long as I was reading and my homework was done.
I see. So
So-
basically every time you hit pause, you'd yell pause.
Yes. Yes.
You'd hit
Yes,
the
and I would
start
just go
button.
back to it.
Pause.
So think of your favorite franchises and their
Okay.
best games or their beginnings. Mario Kart.
Yep.
So Super Mario RPG.
Okay.
You could say Paper Mario now. Donkey Kong Country.
Okay.
Metroid Prime.
Super Metroid. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of Super Metroid.
Yeah.
Which led to Metroid Prime, which is the greatest GameCube game.
There you go.
So name me one staple outside of Mario and Zelda from the regular Nintendo that is a top-selling IP now for Nintendo.
That'd be Balloon Fight. Punch Out, maybe. No. Yeah. I mean, you've got the staples on the NES for sure. Mario, Zelda, Metroid.
So I mean,
Final Fantasy.
you do not have the video game culture you have now without the regular Nintendo.
Sure.
But I don't think you have the fanatics or the collector that you have now without the Super Nintendo.
No, it definitely it built upon everything.
Yeah.
Right. That extra horsepower, the colors, just what they were. I mean, there were industry professionals that thought Donkey Kong Country was Nintendo's next system.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
the Sega executives were like, wow, they're unveiling their next system right now. And they were like, no, it's the Super Nintendo.
like, video games are fun. Video games are storytelling. But Super Nintendo at the end proved video games can be art.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Donkey Kong Country looked, when you're, 8, 7, 10 years old, it looked real.
It looked like you were playing one of the claymation, but I mean, and even speaking of like Clay Fighter, that game looked pretty crazy back in the.
I felt like I was playing a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned Metroid, and I mean, I've talked about it a lot, but that was the first time that a game invoked like an emotional response for me, where it was like, yo, a sacrifice took place that allowed me to keep moving the story along. And that the way that storytelling took place in Metroid was zero dialogue really and zero text. But because of the way that game starts and then the way that game finishes, what's crazy, it's such a long game. but they bring you back to the very opening sequence in that game at the very end, and the sacrifice that takes place and everything so that you can complete the mission. Dude, like, let's put that game in my top 5 of all time forever.
Oh,
It
easily.
can't be moved. It cannot be
So
moved.
I think Super Metroid, because when you and I discuss nostalgia video games, very rarely it's the game and what's going on in our life and who we're with surrounding the game. Super
Yep.
Metroid is the first one that I can remember, and I'm sure you would attest to this, is the first one that I have a nostalgia memory for the game and remember almost nothing of who was there with me because I was so immersed in the story.
So it's a little bit different for me because my dad was sitting there and I was like, Dad, the Metroid just died for me. It just sacrificed, like, that thing killed the Metroid. And he's like, what is a Metroid? Will you shut? Is your 45 minutes up? Get out of like, I want to put the game on. Get out of here. You know, I remember, like, I was shook. I was shook.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a video game. I'm just supposed to be like having fun and everything. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm gonna mess this thing up. I'm gonna mess this thing up. That thing didn't die in vain. You know what I mean? And I love that. I was probably like 12 or something when it happened, but I mean,
Yeah,
I loved it.
Nintendo thrives when they're leading the industry in storytelling.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know?
I mean, so do you think that's why Sony's been thriving so well? Because of their
100%.
storytelling?
So I mean,
Yeah.
look at the PlayStation 4.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, you have the Uncharted games, you have God of War, you have The Last of Us. So for the aging gamer who, you know, yeah, you play games with friends on the N64, but for your core nostalgia memories for the people who are 33 and up, a lot of your core memories are playing games, one controller, sitting on the floor in front of the TV. Sony and their storytelling is kind of bringing that back. So you have the feel of nostalgia along with the power of the console and pretty good gameplay.
Yeah. Which some
And that,
people
I
call
mean,
walking simulators. I get it.
which that's fine. But I mean, look at Mario. You're literally walking right and jumping. Like,
I feel attacked. So moving along here from the Super Nintendo 64, I feel like you kind of gloss over a little bit. Not up there as far as the system you really loved.
I have a lot of fond memories of playing in 64 games with my friends.
Okay.
And with my brother. My brother's 2 years older than me. But compared to the SNES and the GameCube, it kind of gets lost in the middle of those bookends of Nintendo for me.
Okay.
I mean, you know, like all the wrestling games were phenomenal.
Oh, so good. It's so sad that there's the WWF, WWE, like,
oh yeah,
kills me. I wish they would make a collection just like the Cowabunga collection, but with those 64 wrestling games.
So
game over.
The company who made those is making the AEW wrestling game that's releasing this year.
That makes me so happy.
And
what is that? Is it AKI or whatever that company's called?
Yeah, it was like Ukes and AKI or Jax, one of their parent companies.
Right.
But like all the control schemes the same, like moving the middle stick on the N64. You get to do that with the right. Yeah. So
let's go.
But I mean, you know, Super Mario 64, phenomenal game.
Sure. Yeah.
Phenomenal game. Mario Kart. I mean, you know, the 64 games, there's probably 20 of them that are phenomenal. Perfect Dark, I think, is probably the best.
Yep.
Win Back was my favorite as a kid because I wanted that Metal Gear Solid that I was allowed to play.
That is crazy to me. I've never heard anybody mention that game ever. So you were the one person that was excited when it hit.
NSO. I popped big. I threw my hat off and ran around the house. So 2004, when I got my first job, one of my security questions for my password recovery, what was your favorite game of all time, was Win Back 64.
No way.
Yes. Love that game. And all 12 of us who played it, we loved it.
So I remember when I tried Win Back for the first time and I was like, what is this nonsense? I was not a fan. And then there was one, I don't remember the name of it, but it was basically like Starship Troopers, where you just fought giant bugs. And that was another one that was like in there with Win Back, where I would see those two all the time. all the time. They would always be at Toys R Us or, you know, on the store shelves, like
Oh yeah.
just saying, please
Well,
purchase me.
back then, half your games you either got for Christmas from a family member on clearance, or you just bought them because the cover looked cool, or the back had a real fun description. There wasn't video game reviews except for Nintendo Power, and that was just propaganda. So you knew they were going to say they loved it.
How dare you?
It was good propaganda. I'm not saying I didn't like the Kool-Aid, but it was Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it was. It most definitely was. So you always speak fondly of the GameCube.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. What was it about the GameCube that set it apart from the 64 for you?
So I'm gonna go graphics, gameplay, immersion.
Okay.
It's easier to get sucked into a 3D world than a 2D world. So you give me characters I love from my childhood, along with progressing graphics. So you're looking back but forward thinking. That was the perfect combination of just falling in love with Nintendo all over again. I mean, we both like Super Metroid, and then we get Metroid Prime.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. It was a first-person shooter on arguably the best Nintendo controller outside of the Switch Pro controller. So you have a good controller, a great game, a unique looking system. I mean, it's a little box.
It's a lunchbox.
What color did you have?
Oh, black, of course.
Yeah, I think everyone our age did. You had to go black, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I have 2 black ones right now. I still don't have an indigo one, or the orange, or the silver.
I'm boring. I've never purchased a different color controller than whichever one matches my original one with my system. So I had all black. I didn't go with spice orange or any of that other stuff. Okay. All my controllers had to be uniform.
I'm the complete opposite. Especially with the 64. I had the ice blue. My main 64 was the ice blue with the ice blue controller. The Toys R Us exclusive, like neon yellow. Nice. I had purchased the Donkey Kong green console. I sold that to my parents, but I kept the green controller. And then I also had that pack-in light purple clear controller. So I had 4 clear control. I still have them. They're not worn out, which is just blows my mind. But I had to, yeah, it was all about like trying to have those unique, like, yeah. And I had that purple one. I had a buddy who I had to trade him a controller and a hefty wad of cash, if I remember correctly. I'm like, I need that purple. Like, I need it. Because the only way to get it was to buy the console, and it was like the second pack-in controller was that light purple. So, I was a sickness.
The GameCube also had great third-party support, which the 64 didn't really have. So I had all my sports games. I could play NCAA football, NBA Live, all the fun games, and my Nintendo games. So and that's kind of what's helping the Switch right now compared to the Wii and the Wii U, is that third-party support. So you have all the games you want, along with all the original Nintendo games that you love. It's a perfect combination.
Any non first party Nintendo titles on the GameCube that really stand out to you? Give you an example. For me, Resident Evil was one of the best.
All the Capcom games I loved.
Okay. Tony Hawk, maybe?
Tony Hawk was good, but I think
how do you feel about playing Tony Hawk on
Metal Gear Solid?
Oh, yes.
Twin Snakes.
Yes, okay. Which is not one I've played. But how'd you like playing Tony Hawk on that Lucky Charm size D-pad?
Not great. But Tony Hawk was just such a good game. And I think as a kid, fun is sometimes better than function. So I enjoyed the game more than I complained about controlling the game.
There you go.
I mean, come on, you got skating, you have a good soundtrack. I mean, what else do we need at our age?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Well, then there was some weird games where there was like a BMX triple X or whatever. Like there was
Yes,
some
they had the Dave Mirra games.
yeah.
You remember those?
Yeah, that was a little. That was like, whoa. There was like a surfing one too, but
Yeah.
but yeah, man, the Resident
Oh,
Evil games, like,
Beautiful Joe. What about Beautiful Joe?
yeah. So crazy thing, a few years ago, I found both those games at a yard sale, so they ended up in my
Nice.
collection from a yard sale. So I was excited for that.
Have you played Rumble? There are 3 Beautiful Joe games on the GameCube.
Oh, okay. I think I just have the 2. I think.
Yeah. At one point, I owned every Capcom game that was released on the GameCube.
Oh,
even
that's pretty cool.
like their weird Disney published ones they had.
Gotcha. Speaking of Disney, I had that. I still have the Disney skating game too, which had a super sick soundtrack. It had like Trust Company and Crossfade. Like it had some of the sickest music while you're skateboarding as Woody and Buzz. You know, like,
so sports games.
yeah.
GameCube. Can we talk about how good the Mario sports games were on the GameCube?
Oh,
Sluggers.
yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Like,
I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah. How come the Switch can't capture that? Because we're not getting Madden.
I don't know.
No one wants FIFA.
Makes me sad. Makes me sad that they can't put out something that's just a complete package.
Just give us all the GameCube sports games on NSO.
Yeah, please. Yes, please. Yes. Yes. Even this, I mean, the 64 games are also fantastic, but they're not quite the GameCube level. They're not quite like
they could even time them for the pro sports seasons. So release football in the fall, release baseball in the spring. That way you still keep subscriptions coming year long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So you skipped the Wii and the what were you playing? Were you gaming much during that time?
Oh yeah. Xbox 360, then PS4, Xbox One.
Okay. All right.
That was college for me. So college for me, I graduated high school in 2006. So 2007 through 10 was college dorm rooms, Xbox, and way too much pizza.
Love it. Love it.
So, but I still played my GameCube. Like I took my GameCube to college with me.
That's great.
Like I didn't need a Wii because I had my GameCube. I was fine.
So every time I stream on TikTok, I always ask, what's everybody's favorite Mario Kart? And you answer.
Every time, Double Dash.
Double Dash. What is about Double Dash that makes it your favorite?
It was just so different. I mean, you had 2 people. So
you're describing all the reasons I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like you like Mario. I like Mario and Luigi. Gotcha. So you know, as the younger brother, I had to convince myself Luigi was cool because that was all I got to play with.
Hey, I used to set up Super Mario Bros. As 2-player just so I could see the green and white. I'm like, hey, the green and white's pretty cool. You know, like it's pretty cool.
You know, it was different from the rest of them. It still is. I mean, we haven't had another one like that.
Thank God. I mean, I wouldn't mind it as like an aesthetic, right? Like if we could switch items, like the same controls. Yeah. But it was just an aesthetic for people that liked it. And then those of us that just want the pipe cart, the standard wheels, and the Bowser glider, then we're good. I'm currently holding up my Hot Wheels setup for those of you that are only listening. Yeah, I mean, which is exactly that. So,
could you imagine being a gamer who is so basic they want to race with just Mario and a pipe cart and like black wheels and nothing else?
I have a rebuttal, and that is because of the meta, everybody races with the same thing anyway. So take away the stats and just let us play with what we want.
See, I'm with you on that. I think all the changes should be purely cosmetic. They should all have the same exact speed, acceleration, weight, everything. Just focus on how it looks.
I don't even mind if the bigger characters have a higher top speed and the smaller characters have higher acceleration. Like, that's fine. It's just character based at that point, right? And it's subtle. Yeah. But when you start making the wheels get faster turbos, where's everybody going to go? You know, except for me, because I can't do it. I cannot handle the small wheels. I am team no small wheels. I will always be team no small wheels.
And you're also team no motion control.
On Mario Kart, yes, I do use it
Yeah.
on Splatoon.
Do you really?
I do, yeah.
Oh man.
And I recommend it.
So as a noted Wii and Wii U skipper,
Yes.
the only thing I have used quote unquote motion control for is the Duken mode of the Street Fighter game on Switch.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Everything else, I'm straight Pro controller.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Well, I think we just hit 30 minutes. I think we're going to have to do a part 2. I think we're going to have to get you back, and we're just going to discuss Switch titles next that you're into. So
that's fine by me.
Again, tell people, I don't know about again, but tell people where they can find you if they want to connect with you.
So you can primarily find me at Servant in the N64 Josh Discord. That's where a lot of my conversations, a lot of my lists, a lot of my irritating people with my hard takes happen. Other than that, I'm on Twitter. I'm on all the other social medias, but those aren't really important. I care more about building up the N64 Josh community in Discord.
Hey, we love you for it.
But, at me there. I love talking to people. Games are fun. Games bring people together. I say it all the time. People find the community because of games, but they stay because of the community. So just talk to me there.
Awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate you taking the time. If you guys are enjoying these episodes, make sure to leave a review on iTunes. It really does help. And of course, hit us up in the Discord, n64josh.com/Discord, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.